Out of all the
That's
shows, you
one of
said
the
you like a
shows.
lot of the HGTV. I'm loving this one that's more in the design space called Divided by Design. They used to have a show on Netflix. It is Eileen and
Mhm.
Ray Jimenez. Here's another thing I'm going to tell you. And we're going to get random today with Vania Harris. Um,
Here's the realtor.
the realtor, the former radio to real estate, which is just like such a dynamic thing. I met Vanya in the world of radio 155 years ago. You shifted into real estate.
Radio to realtor. Here I am at Vania Harris Realtor. On got to give the plug, right? So, and I want to
Listen,
tell people with one of the biggest transactions in their life.
for the record, that's so interesting because I always have thought of like radio to real estate because you're not the only one. There's like a lot of people who started in the industry. Vanya and I started in all those years ago who did transition so nicely into real estate. And Vanya, I had always thought of that as like, oh, it's because working in radio, there's just such a vibrancy about communication and how you carry yourself and how you could display information and really sell anything.
Right.
The commercials on the radio or whatever. But I realized when you said what you said a second ago, for you, it's also the compassion. I didn't even because I've known you forever. It's
Mhm.
like it is the being the liaison in somebody's really, really, really overwhelming experience, specifically if it's like a first home or whatever the case.
Mhm.
So that's what makes you great at it, really.
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank you.
the part of me that knows you from all those years ago, I wish you would have had all the hugest and biggest success in radio and television.
Right.
But I think you landed exactly where the universe wanted you to land. Do
Absolutely.
you ever, though you love where you're at now, do you ever miss what you used to do and communicating and bringing joy to people, like on the radio, on the television, stuff like that? Do you ever miss
You know
that?
what? Sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, that was fun. That was fun then." I sometimes miss it, but not enough to where I'm like, I'm about to go put a resume together and try to get a job. Now, would I do
Mhm.
it part-time possibly? Yeah. I have the talent to do it, you know?
And here's where I come into the situation. Now, this is, you could tell me if I'm cheesy or not.
Mhm.
I am one of those people who I love it for the fact of what you do for, community, really. But
Mhm.
I also got to say, Vanya, and I don't know if you think it's cheesy, but the way I watch these reality shows on real estate,
I
do
love
you,
them.
you do? Okay, I was going to say, do you love them? You
I
do.
love them. I love 'em. I love seeing different neighborhoods. I love seeing tear downs, put back up, what the project looked like from before and afters. I love all of it. I love
Mhm.
the attitude. I love the business. I love the negotiation. That's my favorite. I'm really good at
Mm.
negotiations. I love when I hear like the New York realtors negotiating a brownstone or a high apartment on a top floor, a penthouse, the luxury stuff. I love seeing all of that.
So listen, Vanya, we're gonna talk. We have a little bit of time with you today. We're gonna talk about what areas you cover, specifically the neighborhoods. That's what I want to talk to you about in just a second. But while
Okay.
we're sitting on this, because my show isn't about real estate. It's randomly. It goes everywhere.
Right.
But I want to talk about the entertainment facet to it because at the end of the day, like you are a beautiful woman. I've known you for so many years. I know that you know how to turn it on and you're charismatic. That has to play an impact on how well you do in your work. You are such a joy. You've always been a joy to work with when we worked in radio together. So when you watch these reality shows, they don't bum you out and make you feel like, oh, it's discrediting of what the actual job and challenge and tasks is. Or do you just watch it as a fun consumer, like, wow, this is just entertaining?
Thank you for the compliments. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know what? I take it for it's a snippet of what they do, and they're showing you just a snippet. You don't see the early mornings, you don't see the clients calling late at night, staying up late, reading contracts, going over it a million times, sitting down with my client, going over disclosures. You don't see all of that. So I appreciate it for what they do and what they show. Because
Mhm.
I get to see something I don't get to see usually that they wouldn't show, you
Right.
know? I like that.
Well, it's funny because I had talked to some people that are in this field, but maybe more the old school, and they were like, "Oh, it's not really like that," or like, "It's so much harder." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it. It's a TV show." But I'm gonna tell you what got me into it
Uh,
as a viewer.
mhm.
I don't own my own home at this moment. I am
Right.
not a millionaire yet, but what got me into it, Vanya, and this might be the entertainment side of me or the entertaining side of me,
Mhm.
is one time I was watching, was it a Million Dollar Listing New York?
Uh-huh.
And these open houses are, and I know that they're over the top. I get that. But what it did for me is it kind of, not to be like cliche or corny about it, but it made me say, whatever task I have in front of me, if I'm
Mhm.
creative and if I have a huge imagination, I can actually get done what I need to get done. There was one particular Ryan Serhant, one of the best, I think. We'll talk about him in a second because I know you like him. I think he's so entertaining. Ryan
Yes.
Serhant, he was doing something in Brooklyn, but the BQE, the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, was kind of in the distance, and there was a lot of noise. And
Mhm.
that's just nothing you really want in terms of like
Right.
it's a beautiful home, but the BQE right there, that's a problem.
Right.
And not that this is like the most imaginative. I'm sure he's done other things that were more creative, but he decided to bring in a local band. So the band was playing the potential buyers that were there at the open house were charm. There was a lot of charming energy of seeing the neighborhood, seeing the local band. And so when the band left, the noise wasn't as loud, and suddenly the BQE wasn't a problem. And I was like, A, this show is
Oh.
amazing, and B, you as a person, you should never let a challenge be a challenge. You could always find a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good at that. Serhant is really good, very good at being creative, last on a dime, and that is screams entertainment too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The buyers, the clients, and us watching. I love
Yeah.
that. That's a great one.
Out of all the
That's
shows, you
one of
said you like a
those
lot of the
great.
HGTV. I'm loving this one that's more in the design space called Divided by Design. They used to have a show on Netflix. It is Eileen and
Mhm.
Ray Jimenez. Here's another thing I'm going to tell you. In the landscape of being entertained, sometimes these shows are just so dramatic. And I really
Right.
love this. It's like what you're saying, Vanya. HGTV sometimes allows for a little bit more. You're entertained. Yeah, maybe a little drama because it is television and they got to like build a
Right.
storyline, but you
Yep.
get a I mean, you get a takeaway. You get like a huge takeaway. Like, this is how I can do it if I were to design my dream home, et cetera,
Mhm.
et cetera. So I think that's what's really got me into these shows. And it made me want to call you right away and say, hey, let's do a podcast just about real estate, the neighborhoods you cover, how you got into it, and why these real estate shows, reality shows, are actually very entertaining. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I like no, I like too many. I can't what is it called? No Demo Reno is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
No Demo Reno.
Okay.
Meaning she doesn't knock down walls, she doesn't change anything. She just takes out the old and puts in the new and adds function. And
Hmm.
she's a cute little redhead. I forget her name right now, but
Mm.
that's probably one of my favorites. Just because it's more her personality. I know what's going on. I know what she's doing. It's on all the shows, but it's more her personality and what she brings, and she's
Yeah.
hilarious. So right now, I would say that's probably my favorite. I'm just watching reruns.
You have a huge task in front of you, balancing, motherhood, like you were saying,
Uh-huh.
uh, this career that's not necessarily new, but you're still newer to it over the last like what
Absolutely,
four or five
absolutely.
years. I guess $1 million question is: would you ever possibly consider doing one of those real estate reality shows?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely, absolutely. I'm open to it. I think it would be fun. And you never know. They could be watching right now, and the producer calls like, "Let's do it. I'm ready. I got some contractors. Let's go to work." You
hmm
know.
hmm No, they certainly are watching because everyone checks out randomly with Ronnie Jr. I'm a superstar, by the way. No, I think you would do wonderful, and I just didn't know what that's like in terms of because that's the thing about it. All these reality shows, they're for our entertainment, they're fun, they're dramatic, but I never knew necessarily how you walk into a space and you have an actual business and how you make sure your business doesn't take a hit, because you're doing like a reality show. But
Right.
actually it's been quite the opposite. You see the Ryan Serhant, he's got like a production company now and several books and several spin-offs. Frederick Eklund, Tracy Tudor, I mean, one of the most toughest reality TV people you will see, and I feel like she knows her stuff so well, and
Yeah.
that's inspiring too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see you on Million Dollar Listing Los Angeles.
Ooh.
I mean, you okay, so give us your
I mean,
background in
even
terms of
Pasadena. I mean, Pasadena is, it's been around forever as far as the Rose Bowl. It's iconic as far as, that city out in the suburban area right outside
Mhm,
of LA, but still in LA County.
mhm,
It's nothing but a few miles away. I mean, traffic might take you too, but
yeah.
no
Well, I think
traffic.
there
It
I
could be
I
15
think there was e
minutes.
I think there was even a moment in reality TV where one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, one of those cast members, she was out there in Pasadena in a beautiful space. So it's like it's still very much connected, and people really like to be in that area.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.